Good morning, my friends. So it is a beautiful Friday, and I thought this video would be perfect to kind of talk about some of my favorite nonfictions that I've read within the past couple of months. And I'm not going to be able to hold any books up, and I'll explain that in a minute. But first, if you are new to my channel, hello, thank you so much for being a part of this family. It's kind of like opening the door and y'all can come inside and you get a little bit of my craziness. I'm Shalise. I am the mom of 5 children and we homeschool and we live in the Mojave Desert. Okay, and being a mom of 5 kids, it means that a lot of my videos get interrupted. So without further ado, let's just kind of talk about some of the books that I read this month and really enjoyed. So Addicted to Busy by Brady Boyd, and it was really good. I think I gave it 5 stars. And Brady Boyd is a pastor of the church that basically just kind of does everything. He talks about how he started out like it was a habit from his early years, and we get to the point of burnout, and then kind of talks about his addiction to busy and just trying to break that. I really liked this book because there was just so many points that he made in his book about our culture, and we're busy, but we tend to, oh look, I wonder if that's one of our butterflies we hatched. We're busy, but just doing like the mundane things, okay? Getting up, making food, getting school prepped, getting things like that going. I mean, that's going to make us busy, and jumping from one thing to another in order to get the stuff done before we have to, call it a day. And just within those mundane things, we're completely busy. But, like if we don't have any margin time, then we're lazy and we tend to try to fill it up. Anyway, I really like that. One of the things in that book that I just found, like, it stuck with me so much was he was talking about these parents that were, talking how they were so busy. Their kids were in sports, and every weekend they were gone, out of town, had to do hotels, and they were just exhausted. And he's like, well, why are you doing this? And the mom said, well, it's so that, my kids can get in good schools, which is something I hear all the time as to why parents are doing stuff like this. And for me, it's always like, well, is it really worth it? Is there any way that the kids could do this? That's where my thought usually goes. Another thing is like, well, is it worth sacrificing like the family time for stuff like this? But he actually made a really good point. So money always talks. And he's like, okay, so give me an estimate of how much this costs every month between the fees for them doing this baseball, basketball, all these things that you commit yourself to. Okay, and then add the hotels and the gas. It's like, what's your rough estimate? And it ended up being like 50 to 60,000 or more, $50 to $60,000 to do all this so that they could get into a good school. And he's like, why didn't you just put that in a savings fund for them for when they're ready? Like I said, money talks, and that was just like, oh, that's actually a very good argument. I don't know if anybody will do anything with it, because I know that sports parents tend to love being sports parents, even though it is a crazy schedule, even though it is whatever. But from Addicted to Busy, that's just one of the, it's gonna, my fingers are gonna block it somehow, sorry. Curse of being fat-fingered. Anyway, that's just one of the things that I really liked about Addicted to Busy, and just some of the points that he kind of goes through. Some of the things I didn't like, when you're a pastor of your church, you have the authority to do whatever. And he did this, and Gary D. Young from Crazy Busy, I think, did something similar. And I just don't think I agree with it. However, I will say that as a pastor of the church, they have some authority to put this into practice, but they require their staff to only work certain days a week. And like they'll check up on that, and they want like certain hours of rest. To be honest, I don't know if I could quote that as accurately as I would like to, but just some of the things that they required other people to do rather than those people to be forced to have the self-discipline. It was just like that's a fine boundary line that I just was a little uncomfortable with. So Addicted to Busy by Brady Boyd, I had it on, my mom had it on Audible, and I listened through it that way, and it was really good. And then from that one, I went to Kisses from Katie by Katie Davis. I think she has another name now because she's married. And oh my goodness, that one is hands down one of my favorite ones of all times. I think I read it in high school, but I don't remember any of it. I just remember the book and my mom talking about it and me talking with her about it. That's all I remember. So it really didn't make a huge impression on me, which is kind of odd because missionary stories have always made an impression on me. I loved Amy Carmichael. One of my favorite books of all times was Peanut Butter's Friends in a Chop Suey World. And I'm going to leave that link down below because it is a phenomenal book for middle grades. Actually, I probably should just do a separate review of all my favorite readings from being a kid, and that will probably be in there. But anyway, Kisses from Katie is about this high school student who ended up going to Africa. I want to say Uganda, but I'm not quite sure if I'm saying that correctly. So she went there as a mission trip, ended up coming back, and then asking her parents to take time off of college and going back over there and serving for a while. And while she was over there, she ended up being a mama to all of these orphan girls, and basically she kind of shares the gospel and who Christ is through her memoirs of being a mama to all of these children and orphans in Africa. And you know, you're reading Addicted to Busy, and then you go into that, and like, she's busy, but there was a purposeful busy. It's not just a bustling busy. And it was really, really reflective for me. So I did that one next, and I gave it 5 stars. Like, I love that one, and I know so many people have read it. I'm just late to the bandwagon of singing its praises. I really liked that one. I loved, like, it was revived in me a little bit for my dream of adopting from Africa. Like, that's always been a dream of mine. I have always had black dolls. They brought me so much joy, and I think there was just a little seed planted of one day I would love to adopt from there. And I don't know, just reading about it and reading some of their culture and some of, you know, their strengths and some of the trials that they go through and just stuff. It just, you know, that scripture in the verse where their hearts burned within them? Like, reading that book, my heart was burning within me. So I really recommend that if you haven't read it. I have a feeling that anybody that rewatches this video has read Kisses from Katie. That one was phenomenal, especially after reading Addicted to Busy, to kind of show a different perspective. And I did not mean to read these in any particular order. That's how it happened. Then the next book I read was Crazy Busy by Kevin DeYoung, and he was a little more radical, I think, than Brady Boyd, and that one was a physical copy. However, my husband has it at work with him right now because he's reading it. It was a little more radical, I think, than Brady Boyd's book, and when I started reading it, I was like, okay, given the two, definitely Addicted to Busy. But the further I got in, the more that I think he kind of got more to the point. I do think he is a little bit more humorous in his writing, but it's not overly done so. There is another book that I was reading that it's just like this humor thing, one page after another, to kind of keep you going, and I actually don't like books that way. I'm like, just get to the point. Just cut to the chase. Get me to why you're writing this book. Don't try to lure me in. And I wish I could remember what that one is. I think I just ended up putting it down, but I did want to mention that in this video because it is a popular book, and I actually have had people ask my opinion on it. So if I can, I'll put the title right here because I think I know where it is or how to find that title. Anyway, with Crazy Busy, Kevin DeYoung kind of talks about, in a similar sense, of what Brady Boyd went through of being a pastor, being really busy, and then having to kind of learn how to renew his habits in a more fruitful way, but also doing more of a rest period. And I think it's Kevin DeYoung that really focuses on sabbatical rests. So Sunday is a day of rest and everybody takes a nap. And I'm pretty sure that's the story. And you know, there was a lot of things I took away, but interestingly enough, I remember more of Addicted to Busy than I do Kevin DeYoung's. But I know if you follow me on Instagram, I shared like snippets of certain things with you, but it was still a reminder that we don't have to fill our days up, especially in this time where I've let my kids each choose one activity, but 4 kids, 4 nights a week. Actually, right now we're kind of up to 6 nights a week because we're prepping for our ballet performance. So 6 nights a week we are doing something with activities, and it's kind of a reminder to me, like, yeah, we don't need it, but I haven't figured out a balance for that. I'll be honest. It'll be interesting to see.
Can I?
Okay. Anyway, so that one was good. I would say do Addicted to Busy. Oh, she's all ready for the library.
At 9:15, I was like, oh snap.
Anyway, if you would like to make sure that everybody is ready to go, if you could do that for me, that would be very helpful. There is pancakes on the counter. Anyway, so Kevin DeYoung, I think it was, again, just going from Addicted to Busy, Kisses from Katie, Crazy Busy, and then the next book I read was The More of Less by Joshua Becker. Now, I've heard so much about Joshua Becker all over, and to be honest, I thought it was going to be similar to Marie Kondo, you know, The Magic Art of Tidying Up, and I was just like, I'm not ready to read another one of those. I did glean, I would call it glean. I did glean some from her book, Marie Kondo's, but as a whole, like the why in it, it wasn't for me. And I was a little worried about Joshua Becker because, again, because of the hype, because of its minimalism, I just try to get my shackles raised. Anyway, so the crowd is coming. I ended up doing The More of Less by Joshua Becker, and it was fantastic. Like, this little boy actually, I listened to it on Hoopla, which is a audio app that's linked to your public library, and you can get like 3 books every month, or I think there's like TV shows. No, it's a month. TV shows and Kindles and stuff like that. Anyway, he ended up hearing me talk so much about it to his dad, and he actually rented it again so he could listen to it. And Mommy didn't know about it. Are you liking it? Anyway, Joshua Becker, I think, has a very
Hi.
Hi. What you got?
Dinosaur.
We don't have Katie.
She's still getting her clothes on.
Okay, Johnny, I'm gonna have to set that aside so I can do this.
I gotta go.
Okay. So Joshua Becker, you want to get some water, Ben?
That's what I'm doing.
Joshua Becker kind of talks about it in a family sense because his revelation for being minimalist actually happened when he watched his boy and realized that he had to take care of stuff rather than spending time with his boy. And okay, so immediately, dude, you have me hook, line, and sinker. So tell me more. And it's very down to earth, very basic. It isn't so much how little can you own, but how much you own is actually worthwhile to you in the sense that it'll be used and it frees up more time to pursue the things that you really want to. He kind of likens it to, oh, can you unlock? Can you unlock the van door so everybody can get in? I kind of likened it to Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey is build wealth so you can give away to help more, so you're financially free to do more good with it. Joshua Becker is in a similar sense. Hi, Katie. Joshua Becker in a the little one, big one's locked, little one is unlocked. And Joshua Becker, in a little sense, is kind of free up your home so that you have more time to do good. You know, for some people, their passion is to travel, and he's just like, my passion is to serve my church more. And as Christians, this is what we're called to do. And I think it was him, but it might have been Francis Chan. But basically, it's the sin of omission. Like, we are told to do certain things, and when we don't do them, it's the sin of omission as Christians. And so the sin of omission is for Christians. If you are a Christian, you are to do these things. And I get really irritated when Christians bind the unbelievers who have not accepted Christ as their Savior to these rules. They are not bound by the rules. We are. We are called to do these things. We are required to do these things. Feed the poor, help the orphans, take in the widows. That is our calling. And so Minimalist Home, Joshua Becker kind of brings that in. But it might be Francis Chan's letters to the church, but it's starting to mesh together, because honestly, like, these books, they all had really strong points, and when you put them together, like, it just created this huge artistic landscape painting. So after Joshua Becker, which I gave it 5 stars, after Joshua Becker, I did Letters to the Church by Francis Chan. Now, I will say that Francis Chan tends to be very extreme, and some of the things I just was like, whoa, okay. But it was very convicting. Letters to the Church, basically he went back to the Old Testament view of how the church should be run. And he addresses some points within the church that I have always questioned myself. So it's kind of like a validation point. But because of that, I actually had my shackles raised up even more, because I'm like, well, I don't want to be validated. I want to be convicted. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm validated in what I think, then I'm just being pharisaical. I'm not being even convicted isn't the right word. But Letters to the Church was really good. I will say that he's very radical. A little bit more than I could do. But the core of his message was brilliant. It was, we need to go back to the sacredness of worship, because God is sacred and holy, and we kind of treat him as we don't really treat him as a god, we don't treat him as someone of high honor, and the church needs a reform in that area. So to wrap all this up, you've got, like the addicted to busy, and then I had Kisses from Katie, crazy busy, Joshua Becker's More of Less, and then Letter to a Christian Church by Francis Chan. And then you put all of these together, and then right now I'm doing The Gospel Comes with a House Key, which has been really phenomenal. And I'm also doing Gay Girl, Good God for Those That Care, and that one actually is so far pretty good. But with The Gospel Comes with a House Key, and all of these books mesh together, you just see like this this string that's just kind of pulling everything together and creating a canvas that, it puts your worldview in perspective. And it was really good for me to see as a Christian just how much I'm not really sure what the right word is, but just how different my viewpoint is of life. You get into your routines and your habits, but y'all know I love those. And it's easy to forget why we're here on earth within that. Or it is for me. And there's just so much that has to be processed. It just has to be processed, but it definitely gave me a different perspective on life. I'm always afraid of like hosting at my house because I don't have what I would consider a perfect setup. I have a husband with depression, which means, some days that you set something up and then it's a really bad day and you're trying to figure out what the heck to do to bring his anxiety down, which, company would bring that to high levels. And so it was easier never to do it, but that's the revelation of things. Is like, well, that's not what we're called to do. Anyway, so those are the books that I've been reading. The nonfiction, all have been asking for more nonfiction. So like I said, right now I'm doing that. Gospel Comes to the House Key, and it's fantastic. Like, I'm only on chapter 4, I think, and I've already put it in my Amazon cart because I want this book to loan out, to kind of mark up, to put some notes to myself. She's a list maker. At that point, she had me hook, line, and sinker. And Gay Girl, Good God, again, is another audiobook that I'm listening to, and that one's really good. I don't know if I would own that one at this point, just because I can get it on audio, and it's just more of a understanding of the homosexual gay group. I'm not sure how to put that. Anyway, so I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.